think it's time we grow this dream. Get everybody on the mics together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, podcast.
Is this the real life?
Is this just fantasy?
Caught in a landslide.
No escape from reality.
Open your
Look in
eyes
my eyes
and say hello.
Look up to
Stop it, Josh. Stop it. Open your eyes and say hello, and welcome back to the sudden but inevitable Rebop, the podcast where we take two anime-resistant first-timers through the series Cowboy Bebop, 1 or 2 episodes at a time, depending on a whole smattering of variables. I, of course, am your host and captain, Captain Bootscoot, a.k.a. Vanilla Husband, a.k.a. Jesse. Welcome, welcome. Hello to everyone in the live chat. That includes Miss Rosie. Hello, Rosie. Hello, Callie D. Hello, Ryan. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Ryan is kind of just going to spoil it right away, and I am so happy that he did, you guys. Congratulations. So awesome to watch you guys on SDCC at home. Ryan, of course, is referring to our recent appearance like 10 minutes ago on the California Browncoats SDCC at home Browncoats meeting room, and I can't tell you how much fun we had. It was just an absolute blast. We got to meet Browncoats from all over the country, which is not new, but you know what, it's meeting people face to face, even over a chat, is a little bit different, and I think you folks here in the live chat know that, and that's why you watch live with us and you hang out every week. So I want to say thank you and welcome. Now, of course, it's not just me to bring these two anime-resistant first-timers through this series. I have a veteran co-host, and that, of course, is at Miss My Armcast, Kylie herself. Kylie, how has your week been so far?
Hi, it's been, just a crazy one, but good nonetheless, and just happy to be here as always. Very excited for this episode in particular, so.
I agree. In case you can't tell, folks, we're covering Bohemian Rhapsody this week. Because of aforementioned super fun appearance, we thought it might make more sense if we just did the one episode coverage this time, and we're going to make a concerted, actual, real, not made up effort to not make this show 2 hours long, because we have all already been working our performative little hearts out for the Browncoats, and we love that, and we had an awesome time, and it was a great opportunity. But if we just keep making multiple shows a night, we could all die, and then the show would be over, and that would be bad, and you don't want that, and I know that. So we're going to go ahead, and from there we'll introduce my friend Josh, the head of the Twist My Arm podcast network, and of course the host of the Twist My Arm podcast. Josh, how's your week been, my friend?
My week has been fantastic. I can't complain. I just pretty much checked another thing off my bucket list today, as far as being a part of the San Diego Comic-Con. No matter how small of a part it is, it's incredible that we got invited to do that, and I am just so honored and thankful to have been part of that. I mean, I'm still kind of speechless. Like, I kind of forgot about what this episode's about, so.
It's all right. We made notes. That's why we make notes. And
correct.
To echo Josh's sentiment, we just have to say thank you again to Linnell at California Browncoats to reach out to have us be part of this celebration of the amazing outpouring of love that is the Browncoat community was deeply touching. And then to see it all happen live. You guys, you know me. I'm always talking about how overwhelmed we are by just the outreach and wonderful love that we receive. And that hasn't slowed down, and it hasn't stopped. And I thank you so much. All we can do is say thank you and continue to say thank you. We appreciate that. There's some really cool stuff that we have in the works. If you didn't get to see our appearance, definitely go check out the California Browncoats YouTube channel. We will put a link into the show notes so that you can go watch our appearance there, and you can hear about some of the machinations that were taking place.
I'll
Now, of
also
course-
put that link on our website to twistedroundpodcast.com/SBI. I'll put that little video in there as well. So if you head over there, it'll be there.
That's the easiest place to get everything sudden but inevitable all in one spot. Now, because you've all been here before, be you viewers or listeners, you know what I'm about to do. And that is to introduce the juggernaut of the podcasting network that is Twist My Arm. The force to be reckoned with, that is Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Welcome to the show, my friend. How has your week been?
It has been a very good week. I mean, San Diego Comic-Con was cool, but earlier this week, I watched my boss get attacked by a hawk.
Yes.
Winning.
Yeah, it was amazing. It
Was
was
he,
so great.
Do the Hawks have large talons? Was it a
Uh,
territorial thing? Like, what was...
How? Oh my gosh! Spill the tea. Spill the
If
tea.
you don't put out any self-identifying information if you don't want to.
No.
Give us the
Basically, we work out in a very rural area. There's a lot of farms around the location that we're working out of. And in rural areas, that means animals are something you have to be concerned about. And there are a couple hawks in the area. I've seen them come down and pick up mice and that kind of stuff. And my boss is bald. And I wonder if that had anything to do with it, if his head was looking shiny or something, maybe. But a hawk came swooping down, hit him like kind of a minor scratch. He wasn't even bleeding. It was just red. And he got a couple of good hits in with the wings before the hawk, falcon, large bird of prey, whatever it was, took off again. Yeah. And now my boss, every time a shadow goes by, like a bird's flying by, he flinches. And it's just
that's
so
crazy.
good. I think everybody wants to see their boss get attacked by an animal, not like a bear mauling, but, you know,
I was
Just-
just about to say that.
It
Maybe
humanizes
some people's bosses, but
it humanizes our superiors at work when we see them have moments that are relatable, right?
yeah.
Oh, there's a spider in my face, something that is like, oh yeah, it's what I would do. I would freak out and scream.
Yeah, I bet there's a couple people
wow.
at our jobs that would like to see us get attacked by hawks.
oh gosh, I don't even want to know.
I want to see it get wrapped up in Josh's hair and just not be able to get away.
Flock of seagulls.
That's wow.
That would
Okay, you
suck.
guys. So I promised this would be a shorter episode.
Yes,
So
Jesse,
I
good job. Let's do this.
I have to rein us in. We have to start talking about Cowboy Bebop. Ricky D, it's difficult though because now I'm just picturing that happening, and like he has to explain that to people in his life now. Like when he's out with people he knows and he like ducks behind a building, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, man, are you all right?"
I got attacked by a bird.
Giant bird gave me a bad coupon.
I just before anything, I want to just share the awesome big news that we kind of shared last week, but we have today that it's actually official. Our store is open and ready for business. If you guys would like to go purchase any of the shirts, or we have hats in there for Best Flicks, there's some other things. Definitely hit us up. It's twistmodernpodcast.com/TMA-store. If you go there, then you can see you click on whichever show you're looking at. We just put a really cool shirt up there that I'm very excited about. So,
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, if anyone's interested, it's all ready to go. All the testing has been done.
It says bound
everything
by
is,
law on the arm.
Yes, yes, it's
Cool.
great. So
And-
Kylie and I got our shirts. They're going to be in the mail here in a couple weeks, and you guys will be able to see them. So I'm excited.
And the thing that's really cool about that particular shirt, if I may, is that it comes in a variety of colors, and all that changes is the colors of our silhouettes, right? So you can get it there's like a red, a blue, a green, a pink, a teal, a heather, I think is the term, or ash heather. There are some very fancy, very shiny color names to our t-shirts. And you can represent your love for the Sudden But Inevitable Rebop and the Sudden But Inevitable Rewatch, Seasons 1 and 2, at the same time with one shirt. And every single penny that you spend at the Sudden But Inevitable or Twist My Arm shop in general goes directly into making this show as good as it can be. Like we said on the Brown Coat SDCC at home stream, we're just regular people with full-time jobs that love to hang out and talk about the things that we love with the people that we love. And if there's anything that we can do to make that better, we want to do that. And this is the easiest way for us to empower ourselves to do that. Now, a little bit of a spoiler alert. We were talking on the Brown Coat stream about charity. We are going to be looking into a promotion where, between date X and Y, anything you buy in our store, the profits will 100% go to charity after the cost of the item, which we pay. So I want to say thank you again to the Brown Coats, the California Brown Coats in particular, for inspiring us. And I want to say thank you to Josh for doing all the very ridiculous, intricate, difficult, detail-oriented work to get all of that working so that we can start putting up really cool shirts and hats for everybody to help with the show. Ricky D, I can't wait to own a Best Flicks with Ricky D hat. I cannot wait to put a Best Flicks with Ricky D sticker on my water bottle.
Yeah, I'm going to vandalize everything with those stickers.
It's going to be so
I don't even wear
good.
hats, and I am so getting one. I'm going to wear it everywhere. I'm going to wear it backwards, sideways. Oh my gosh, so many cool ways.
We're very excited, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, if you guys don't have anything else that you feel like you need to correct from last week, or that you feel like you have to say thank you for, or anything like that before we get into this, I'd be like, that's a no. I only looked briefly. I'm sorry.
No, I'm
cool.
ready to jump in. Yeah.
Then, my friend Kylie, if you wouldn't mind giving us the synopsis for this week's episode, Bohemian Rhapsody, and outside of the title, of course, which we're going to talk about, any other fun facts that you may have related to this episode.
Sure. Okay. The Bebop crew embarks on a wild goose chase of a bounty hunt that leads them deep into space in search of an ancient chess master. So my first thought there, I thought it was neat to just the kind of wordplay there. They're going into outer space, which is what you're kind of used to, but got the whole cyberspace thing going on. So cool. So cool. And then, as Jesse mentioned, I think it's pretty obvious that, Bohemian Rhapsody, very, very popular song of, Queen's A Night at the Opera. So fun. And other than that, this is kind of a pretty fun fact. I didn't write down the names because I could have told you all day long, and I don't think any of us would have really remembered. But the chess matches in the episode are actual chess matches, famous ones from history. And
Wow.
Again, I was really thinking, I was I could write these names down and tell you who they are, but you probably wouldn't really remember. So, but I just thought it was neat that.
Wow, did
It's
Kylie
a real.
Did Kylie just cast shade on us for not being hip to the world of competitive chess? She's like, you guys probably wouldn't know these chess grandmasters, but
Well, I
They
mean,
just
who can forget Paul Morphy and Adolf Anderson?
dude, I am a huge Gary Kasparov fan personally. I mean, of all the grandmasters, he's my favorite. Ricky D, you got
Absolutely.
one?
Josh just got that right off the top of his head, too. So.
Adolf.
I got mine off the top of my head. You guys know me. I look only at the camera and at the show notes on this because if I look at the camera, I can see my own face. So
I don't like looking at my face, so I just look at the notes.
Because it's true. But no,
I'm
it's
totally
super
kidding,
cool.
Kylie. They probably listed what, 500 matches, right? That screen flickered for a solid 15 seconds or something, didn't it?
Yeah. Definitely. So, a lot.
To
Long
Callie's point,
story
no, I
short,
never
though,
said she was wrong.
Yeah. He's throwing me off guard again.
I'm sorry.
But anywho,
Apologies.
I just thought that was really neat. It was actually a match. They were talking about, how Edward was sitting there for a week or whatever.
week.
There is a chess match that actually took people a week to complete, and can you even imagine the satisfaction one might feel after winning a game that with a worthy opponent after a week.
Well,
so
that's
cool, so cool.
and spoiler alert. That's why he dies at the end. He
Um,
played such a hardcore match at chess
well,
that it
and
killed him.
What a it was a wonderful, satisfying death. Like, seriously, he's
Yeah.
all old, sitting there waiting. You could tell even at the beginning of the episode, he's like, I'm like all tired and bored or whatever. And then he is so stoked that he has a worthy opponent and just dies like way better than he
Well,
could
his
ever imagined.
his fun
So-
little line too was, what did he say? It's I'm either facing a complete idiot or a total genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
But,
I believe that's
um,
what some of the most professional chess players say is difficult for them is to play people that have never played or don't have a strategy, right? Because they're like, these people aren't going to do what they should, nor what I expect them, so it's very difficult to plan around that.
I won
Which
a
is
chess
cool.
match. So I don't know if you guys remember the Fort Collins Mall. But the Fort Collins Mall had always had little kiosks and things going on there when malls were hip. And one of those things that was happening, I went there one day and there was a big like group of chess, like a chess group, you know what I mean? And it was like this guy taught everyone chess. He was like some world renowned chess player
A
that
chess
all
game.
these kids were learning from him. And it was a free game of chess. If you win, you won a prize. And I was like, I've only played chess a couple times. I know how to move the pieces. So let's do it. I totally won, and the guy was so mad at the kid. He's like, "How could you lose?" he's like, "How did you lose?" And he's like, it was like they didn't really have prizes because he starts looking around like, I got this magnetic chess set. Here you go. Like,
oh my gosh, that's
it's
crazy.
like that's
That's
funny
very
because
cool.
he taught them a way of like, because even the kid was like, well, I was using the square method. I was using the
Yeah.
it's like a method of you put all your characters in a square around the king, and he was like I did that, but he still won.
First of all, this poor kid. That sounds like traumatizing. But yeah, no, it is like a strategy of it's of wit. And my dad taught me how to do it at a pretty young age. I have still to this day never won a game of chess.
Let's play.
I know.
Let's do it.
We got to do this.
I'll buy it on PlayStation tonight. We'll play.
No, we have.
Buy it on Switch. I'll play with you.
Oh, Switch.
Oh, okay.
You guys
so
should
first of all,
definitely
we'll buy
stream
it now
competitive chess.
because we can
Down.
stream it. But I was gonna say we do have.
Do we have a physical game of chess?
Remember you bought the one where it's the
Oh, yeah.
multi-game thing? Yeah. So yes. Anywho, chess is on.
Update. Josh does own a copy of chess, a physical chessboard. We have figured that out.
Yes.
And
Whole point of that.
and
Thanks, Rick.
you guys, this is a moment in time. Like, and I don't want to let it pass. You seriously need to stream chess against one another, and I will commentate the stream. Like,
Now it's happening. Yeah, we got to do
yeah,
this.
it's gonna it
we're
needs to
scheduling.
happen. We'll make a bonus out of it or something. We have to. So this
I'm down.
episode opens with the fastest caller we have ever seen in either of our two bounty hunter shows, right? Like the first 3 shots are caught him, and caught him. So immediately I'm like, oh, this is very different. I'm very confident. And then the very next scene is them going, yeah, it's nobody. It doesn't matter. I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. But I do really like that we are just sort of picking up in the middle of some kind of story that's already happening here, right? Because it's so totally non sequitur from last week. It's just like now there's some weird kind of chess thing happening here, and we haven't heard of this yet. Also, that intro music, the drums. I mean, Josh, you had to be all over those drums, right?
The music of this whole episode was great. It was very percussive, and I'm a
Very,
big drummer. So, like, you get to the end of the episode, and it's all the tribal drums and stuff like that. Absolutely
You're an
loved it.
average-sized drummer.
It was-
Oh, you mean you really enjoy drumming? Gotcha.
You should see my hands; they are blistered. They get so blistered when I play. Oof.
That's actually true. His hands are
got
pretty
blisties on my
usually beat
fingers.
up from playing music.
You have drumsticks,
Musicians?
right?
What am I saying?
Yes.
You aren't hitting him with your
Drumsticks.
hands.
No. It's always
Look,
been a
Hank,
thing. Like
no
I've
more
been playing
burned
drums
hands.
for a long time since I was a little kid, and even when I was a little kid, it's like the vibration of the sticks hits my fingers just right. That it's a problem a lot of drummers have. So I got to wear gloves or duct tape my hands.
That is not rock. That is not rock and roll.
Or
rock and
if I
roll,
don't
unless
do
you're
it, I just
bleeding.
bleed everywhere. I played a show once where there was blood all over my drum set just from my blisters, and that was
was-
metal AF.
I was gonna say Ricky D, you know me. This isn't something that I just do. But in defense of Josh,
What?
I have seen him play live shows that the only adjective I was able to give him afterward was metal. So
I apologize.
I would say
That's-
you've nothing to apologize for. I'm simply bringing us all to the same level of knowledge. So we're
Love
going to try,
music.
you guys. We're really trying. I love that this episode of Big Shot is basically just it's kind of like the news bulletin that's like breaking news, the exact piece of information you need, right? Except it's the Big Shot crew talking directly to the Bebop crew. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's too bad you didn't get paid. That's rough. Sorry, friends. Like, I hope to someday have somebody apologize to us on live television. You guys, can we make that a new goal? I mean,
Yes.
we've interviewed Adam Baldwin. We've been part of San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, I think the next step should be have somebody apologize to us on live television.
On it.
So, okay, thank
On
you.
it.
I don't know how to. Anyways, so during this little confab that we have here, the music is doing some really, really fun stuff. I mentioned before, if you're listening with headphones, if you watch the show with headphones, the music and the audio is mixed in a really fun way. And especially in this scene, you've got Jet walking around, and when he's doing that, he's walking around in your head. He's changing directions in your head when the way that he's facing changes on the screen. Sometimes the music will like sink way back into just the tiny little corner of your headphone while everything else is a regular volume. It really shows the love that they put into the mix of this show. And I mean, this episode in particular, I was really like kind of over immersed for a minute. I was like, man, and there's some really disorienting shots in this episode. So that can be a problem if you get too immersed. But I mean, I loved that little piece, and you know, it just echoes what Josh was saying. The music in this whole episode, all the way through, is just I mean, the whole series, of course, is masterful, but in this particular episode, it's a lot of fun.
And that's
So-
the best part of the show, I think, is the music is always different. A lot of shows keep the same style. You know, they have that one. Take Avengers, for instance. You have the Avengers theme that's used in every single Avengers movie, and a lot of shows do that, where they have the main theme that's used in different fashions, but used the same way throughout the whole series. This is completely different. They write different music for every single episode, and I respect the shit out of that, because that takes way more work than most shows are willing to put in.
That was a whole separate production, kind of.
Exactly. And it's
super
awesome.
Yeah.
And the work itself, which will become a new genre, shall be called Cowboy Bebop. Like, so I really enjoyed this little piece here where they're sort of explaining, okay, 50 years ago when the gates were built, and it's just like they just state it so matter-of-factly without being like, let me teach you something, right? I'm going to be honest, you guys. Most of this episode, I was thinking of Ricky D, because I was like, Ricky D got here before the show gave it to him. Like, to his credit, he was like, I'm totally comfortable with it. It would make sense that they'd stay here, or that they would go to these places first, rather, if they had just invented the technology. It makes a lot of sense. I'm good with it. Plus, I know all these places because, you know, took courses on it. So I'm glad, Ricky D, that we finally got you, like, a tacit explanation, right? Like, it's been 50 years, like, which kind of surprised me, I'll be honest, because, like, I think for the first 50 years, maybe even, I don't know that I would travel hyperdimensionally. Ricky D, would you travel hyperdimensionally somewhere within the first 50 years of that technology being available?
You know, I do like to allow other people to be guinea pigs. I like to get a lot of information from what I'm observing. I don't know if I'd have to wait 50 years, but I would be cautious about it. And there's also, they were talking about a defect in these gates, and I might be bringing it up too early, but I didn't quite understand what the defect was. Was it a time release virus, or what was happening with that?
I don't think they really described it. It was just kind of a
A defect?
thing, right? It was just
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
like
it was meant to self upgrade after 50 years or something
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? And then, so my understanding, or rather my sort of interpretation of that one phrase, because you're saying they don't really go deeply into it, was that there was a cyberspace vulnerability, which allowed it to be taken over or hacked or whatever.
Okay.
And that was why the people that were messing with it knew exactly what to do. But I again, we had a lot of stuff happening tonight, and I had to cram a lot of stuff into the last 3 hours of life. So it's an excellent point. But the other thing that I immediately thought of, I'll be totally honest, was, I wonder if like that ghosting thing that we learned about was not an intended effect. Maybe that was like a lucky accidental side effect or something, or like the guy didn't intend for it and he was like, oh, that happened, but everything seems fine, so good. Or it has something to do with how they actually move those things that fast, right? It's like the opposite or maybe the same effect as the Mass Effect. Confession time, I've never played a Mass Effect game, but I believe Mass Effect itself, the title refers to the way that they travel faster than light in that series. And I think they also use a series of gates. I'm not 100%, you guys. Phil.
Never played it.
You've played Mass Effect, right? In the live chat? You've played Mass Effect, right?
Phil, we need you.
I mean, if you haven't, it's okay. But if you have, please tell
Phil's
me
a
that I'm wrong.
Nintendo guy. Mass Effect's not on Nintendo.
I don't know.
Well,
Phil might
Phil
be
strikes me as a
Phil
man
of
of
all
many
trades.
cultures. Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But it basically what you'd have to do to get something to go, oh, see, he hasn't played. Very cool. I am as cool
Because he's
as
a
Phil.
Nintendo guy.
That makes me happy. So to get something to go that fast, you'd have to decrease the actual mass of it, right? Because the faster and faster you go, the more your mass increases, right? Because energy equals your mass times the speed of light squared. So as you go faster, you become more massive or heavier, basically. So it takes more energy to go faster and faster and faster and faster. So the mass effect in the title, I believe, refers to the effect that they use to reduce the mass. So my guess, now that we've talked about it and I've said mass and effect 400 times, is that that's how they use the gates. Is it probably somehow does that? That was fun. Was that fun for anyone or just me?
Yo, I enjoyed
No,
that
I
very
had
much.
a great time. I think we're all
okay.
enjoying our.
You just
time
broke
here.
my Jedi brain. I don't understand what's going on.
I feel much better now. I was like, oh God, did I just talk for no reason?
No.
So our crew, of course, in this episode, Josh, you're the next person I thought of because they come upon this pretty wretched hive of scum and villainy just floating out there in space. You know, Edward, of course, before that, Edward dives into cyberspace. The scene where she gets electrocuted is possibly one of my favorite scenes
One of
so
the-
far.
Yeah.
Not because
is
of
my
the
favorite
actual,
character.
Yeah, and it's not the motion of when she gets shocked; it's the sound she makes after. So she gets shocked, and then she falls down and goes, and like, I lost it. I paused it because I was like, I don't want to miss any shots. I might have to pick one of these out. Like, it's difficult to pick a favorite character, but it's easy to see why if you were going to, you would pick Ed.
Ed is amazing. I love that character.
The best.
And she, you know, I don't know if we've gotten there yet where they find the like instructions or the manual for finding them. But if you look at that piece of paper, it really reminds me of like an early 2000s GeoCities website
Yeah.
that someone would have made, you know, and printed it out and sent it to someone through cyberspace or whatever.
It looks like a printed out web page.
yeah.
Somebody didn't send a link. They printed out the web page and stuck it on a wall.
There were a couple
Right.
misspellings on it too, which was funny.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, Ed taking it and going and doing the research to get into the chess game. But yeah, I love watching these old shows when they talk about cyberspace and like surfing the interweb and like doing things like that because it's so late 90s, early 2000s, those terms that we are familiar with that they still use, and now they are so outdated that like kids watching it now would be like, what the hell?
But to their
Why you-
credit, it's like a lot closer than most shows at that time would have gotten. Like, so
Right.
if you watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, for example, just as a for instance, when they pick up one of those data pads and they realize that whatever they're looking for isn't on it, they put it down and they pick up another data pad because they couldn't conceive of a future where one device would have multiple files on it, right? They were like, each tablet would be like a book, and you would go find that in your little tablet cabinet and pick out the right one. But Faye, if you can find the quote, I don't know if you can find that, and I'm not putting it on you to do it because that might be difficult, but what she says is essentially something that could happen now, and this is only taking place 50 years in the future, you guys, from now. So it would be like, she said something like, there was a dark web site, and they went there, they ordered it through the mail, and got it delivered. And it's like,
Right.
that's just Amazon.
Sounds
Like-
very, and dark web in general. No, I Star Trek, and I always liked when they would pull people off screen because they'd be like, take them off screen, and you'd be like, well, they can still hear you talk though when they're off screen, right? Isn't that how that would work? Because like nowadays, when you take someone off screen, you can still hear them talk.
The thing that I love that they did that was really passive aggressive is they would leave the screen on, but Picard would turn around and go like this, like he would make this motion,
Yeah.
and then they would mute the screen. So the people on the screen could see them walking around talking about them, but not hear
Yeah.
what they were saying. It was like,
Right, like pointing at the screen, like this guy right here, and they're like, "What is that?"
like that's not diplomacy. That's passive aggression. That's borderline regular aggression. Like,
Borderline.
just I mean,
You're not wrong.
yeah, but yeah, I did appreciate that there was some definite late '90s
Mhm.
computer talk. Right. I mean,
It's like the MS
hacking.
DOS in Firefly when they had the Windows 98 for the trash
98 or NT,
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely got that feel of somebody here uses computers. Somebody on the writing team uses computers, but that's about it. Like,
Yup.
maybe they use it for transcription. To your point though about the misspellings that you had brought up, I have a question actually from the last episode, and I should have brought this up earlier, but I think Gren is definitely supposed to be named Glenn, which is a gender-neutral name, but the Japanese to English R and L transposition
Right.
that is frequently mocked to deleterious effect.
South Park
but it's a
does
real
it all
thing.
the time.
Right, but it's a real thing.
Right.
It actually takes place in transliteration as well. So the letters are actually transposed when they translate, right? So like there was a guy whose name was like Clegg, like it said Clegg's Bar or something.
Right.
And when they went in there, she was like, "Hey, Craig," or whatever it was. So I remember specifically, because in their reading of it, the L would sound like an R. That's why that thing happens.
That's interesting. That's a very
Makes
good
sense.
theory.
I
So-
wondered that too. For that whole episode, I was like, "Is this supposed to be Glenn?" Because I just
Because
feel
Glenn
like
is kind of a weird name.
yeah, and that's why I had such a hard time remembering and kept calling him
I didn't.
Gremlin and
Gnome.
Gnome.
I
Gnome.
I did not
That's
think
right.
twice about it because
No.
weird names are totally an anime thing. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems like maybe
didn't
they
think
were
about it.
told, get it right for the three main characters, and other than that, whatever.
Have
Right?
at
Because
it.
Jet Black, Faye Valentine, and Spike Spiegel, those are all correctly spelled and pronounced throughout the series.
Hmm.
So, just I don't know if the word is interesting, but just a detail that I think I may have
That makes
later
so much
on
sense.
picked up.
Makes-
Yeah, it took me a minute. I'm sorry it was 13 episodes in.
Is it in the sub version? Like if you were reading the subs, would it say Glenn?
No, it says Gren.
Does it? Okay.
Oh, Phil correct me big time and says Gren's first full name is Grencia. So
So yeah, that's why I was like, I
Oh.
don't know. I feel like that was.
I think that means a 5-second banishment for Jesse. I'm kidding.
it's a valid point remains. Like there are still other
No, absolutely.
examples of it. So, but man, Grencia is a weird word too, but it is much more pleasing to say than Gren, I think. Like, it's just
Gren sounds like a Sesame Street character.
Gren and Elmo count apples. I could see that. Callie, other way around, you said it's the L is pronounced as R, but it's the R that is pronounced as L. But the point I'm making is that I believe it goes both ways. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a native Japanese speaker. Like, that was kind of the point that I was making. But I can look it up and give a more definitive answer next time on the sudden but inevitable Rebop. So, we get to this. I mean, it's a space hippie commune, right?
Hold up just a moment. I want to talk about the chess pieces.
Oh, okay.
The chess pieces that had the little like microchip in the bottom of them, and Ed was able to turn on the chess board and connect with all these people. I was watching that, and it made me think of amiibos. Do you guys know what these are?
Yes,
Absolutely.
totally, yeah.
Yeah, they're little Nintendo action figures. You can buy them alongside your game, and you tap it to the controller. This is an Xbox controller, and there's a reader inside the Nintendo controllers, and it takes extra information, and you can save your game onto these guys. Sometimes it'll unlock extra costumes, that kind of thing. But I've got a ton of these, and I saw the chess piece, and I was like, that is an amiibo.
Cool.
It's like an amiibo to take you to Sabak, to Cowboy Bebop Sabak, because it's the virtual thing from Star Wars. But yeah, that's cool, and those amiibos are worth something now.
Yes,
'cause
they are.
canceled it, so good on you for keeping up with those. I only bought a couple of them, but I didn't really care anymore. There wasn't much to.
The ones that I showed are some of my only ones that are out of box. Almost all of these are in box that I've got.
As they should be, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Have you ever used an amiibo and suddenly had to play a Nintendo game against an evil hacker from 100 years ago?
Actually, I got sucked in and I had to fight Wario in a Mario Party type situation.
Same thing. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Similar. I don't know if I call it this. You know what? You're right. It's the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
It happened. I won. I was given my,
Match.
my freedom back. So
He was sucked into the game like Tron.
Wait, so had you lost, Wario would be real? Because now I'm like,
no, I would become one of his minions in this world, and the next person that uses an amiibo to get sucked into the Mario Party Wario world, then I would be another competitor for them.
Yeah, it's like Nintendo Manji,
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm going to give you all a spoiler alert if you're a podcast listener and not a live chat viewer / participator. It's going to be difficult for me to pick an episode title this week because I have already written down 3 or 4 different phrases that everyone has said where I'm like, oh, that's
Nice.
definitely it. And then it almost immediately gets topped. So I want to thank my crew for just knocking it out of the park this week. You guys, this is really funny. Callie D, our resident researcher, says, so in both cases they use a mixture of those L and R. We are all wrong. Basically, they have a sound between L and R that's not exactly interchangeable. L and R as individual sounds just don't exist in Japanese. So in both cases, it's an approximation. They're using a mix of L and R. And it seems possibly at a whim, or maybe in just whatever looks correct. Maybe that's the thing that they check with their translators, their localization teams, right? They're like, hey, is this how you guys would do it? Because we're approximating. And then the localization team goes, yep, here, here, and here. This is all perfect. We're good.
That makes sense.
I
That's
wanna
really
say
good
hello-
info, Callie. Thanks for that.
Yes.
That's
I want to
awesome.
say hello to Rona, who is Callie's mother. Rona, hello in Scotland. Thank you so much for joining us. And you guys, I think we're in 18 countries now, 17 or 18 countries. We're in like 35 states in D.C., 38 states in D.C. What I'm going to do is make a map of the states that we're not in, and we're going to call those states out directly. So
Oh my gosh. Are we in New Hampshire?
be on the lookout for that. I mean, I can check if somebody
Okay,
wants
yeah.
to talk for a moment about this.
I'm on it.
Well, we can
on it.
circle back at some other time. By all means, I'm just
Okay.
curious. Yeah.
If I may, though, why? Because you have family in New Hampshire.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha. For a
Yep,
second, I was
so
like, that's
yep,
kind of
I
a
wanna
place
know.
that you wouldn't just pick out of. Oh, right.
I know. So for everybody else, it's the middle of nowhere, and it's home for me. So
It's the east of nowhere, but no, that's good. That's good. I actually, I think we've talked before, Kylie, about how you and I both kind of love the East Coast and
yes, sir. Yes.
wouldn't mind spending time there at any given stretch.
It doesn't appear that
We-
New Hampshire is on the list.
We are we are in
so-
Massachusetts and Connecticut, but we are not in
Okay.
New York.
New
Well,
Hampshire.
Not
I have got
New Hampshire.
context there. Well, I'll call them. So.
No, you guys, let's do this officially. New Hampshire, this is the sudden but inevitable Rebop. What is your problem? Are we not genuine enough for you? Do you not like Firefly? Do you not like Cowboy Bebop? Like, what can we do? What can we do for New Hampshire? Okay, at Sunbutt on Twitter. All
Now,
right.
this is a cool little thing. I like to think
Thanks,
that the 1.95% of Serbian population is
It's
Nikola
Nikola.
Jokic from the Denver
Yes.
Nuggets. I like
Hey.
to think that the Joker is listening to
He's
us.
definitely listening to
You know
us.
what? That's actually probably the most likely scenario. So I'm very proud of that. Okay, so we get to this. Before we get to the space hippie commune, does anybody have any other notes from before the space hippie commune?
Just peace to my bank account, bro.
Oh man, peace to the galaxy and my bank account, bro.
Yeah. So we get to a space hippie commune, and everybody
Finally.
is just kind of floating around. Everybody and everything is just kind of floating around, like you do when you don't have a job and you're just hanging out in space inside of some garbage, I suppose.
Yeah, that was
Um,
bizarre.
yeah.
And animals and
And they just float around. They don't even like. There's sleeping people floating around in anti-gravity. Like,
Get those cats some gravity boots.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, somebody save the cat.
yeah, I'm surprised
then
there's
you
not
got
any
the
notes in
dog.
here that just has a cat written out and all.
You just got
bold.
another show title, didn't you, Jesse?
I
Save the cat.
No, it's just that sometimes I picture what the hypotheticals that you guys bring up, and it's really difficult for me to focus on what we were talking about because I'm like, that could make a whole. I could talk about that for 7 minutes. you know me, I could do that. It's not necessarily really a skill. So the comment, right? There's air in here, but then they leave their helmets on.
Because it
Is there-
stinks.
Is there any chance in the live action version they don't leave their helmets on when they get here?
I hope
I-
that they just are going, that it's just a freaking Deadhead concert. It's just a fish concert, and they're walking through a fish show, and they're like, oh, we're at a hippie commune. Leave them helmets on. It stinks here. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, and specifically, I mean, they're on space trash, right? So it's like, even if the air is okay, to your point, Josh, something here probably is not safe to breathe. Like, even if it doesn't seem that way based on the instrument readouts. But we finally find this ancient dude who is just behind minutes upon minutes of slow, deliberate, sort of psychedelic, disorienting, very pattern-intensive animation leading through these hallways where everybody is floating and all the plants are covering the walls and there's smoke
I really liked that.
lingering. Yeah, I mean, it was
The-
very serene. Yeah, I loved
And
the
mixing
whole
it with the
sequence.
chess match too, because it was like they were showing the chess match, and then like part of me was thinking that what was happening in the chess match was affecting them walking through the ship. Like when Ed would make a move, then I was like, oh, now something's falling. Does that mean that this game is actually controlling what's going on there in the trash, or what's? I mean, obviously it wasn't, but they made it seem like that a little bit.
Yeah.
The fact that this is just a 22-minute show and it's able to take the time to do like a 2 or a 3 minute cut of just silence, and like that should be reserved. Usually it's reserved more for 45-hour long shows or movies, and it's impressive that they get it into these little quick 22-minute episodes.
Well, I feel like they have to show off the music, because this is that scene where they start showing off the tribal music and stuff, those drums and everything. And I if I were making a show, I would definitely focus a lot on music, and I would want to have scenes where, if the music is that good, it's just no dialogue, all action and music behind it, and I feel like they did a good job with that in this one for sure.
Yeah, totally.
So a common thing that I will see sometimes in reviews, and I think it's usually used as a criticism, is like, this movie was felt like a music video for part of its runtime, right? I get a similar
yes.
feeling and experience with Cowboy Bebop, but it is not a negative thing. It is like a pastiche of a music video, because there is also a plot and a story, and it's just, yeah, I 100% agree with you, Josh, and I 100% agree with you, Rosie, in the live chat. I love that music. Miss Kylie, having played chess from a young age, was one of the chess pieces that you used in your various chess games ever used to clandestinely track your location and subsequently steal a bounty head from you?
Wow, that's I feel like you're putting me on the spot here.
Well, you can't tell him
Like I
the
said,
truth though either.
I don't
so.
want, like I said, you don't have to reveal any personal information, just like Ricky didn't. It was, if you want to
No incriminating evidence here. Be really careful with
No.
what you tell him.
Okay, guys, I actually gave her a chipped chess piece, and I was tracking her back when she was
I
like
knew
7
it!
years old.
Yep.
I knew it was you.
It was me.
And so, what happened? She crossed paths with Josh, and you're like, oh.
No, I just make sure she would never win.
Oh, putting you in the stalemate permanently.
Totally.
That is
But
rough.
no, I it is funny though, just to bring up the topic. Like, I don't know. Usually when I try stuff for the first time, like I get very frustrated if I'm not good at something. And maybe I'm not good. I just haven't had a lot of practice. But it is funny that chess is totally the thing that I've just never won in my life. So
I bet.
We need to play more. I bet you could
yeah,
beat me.
I bet
I'm
you'd
pretty.
be fine at chess.
and see,
Yeah.
and I think that my dad was just really good too.
That's probably what it
and
was.
and he's I don't know. He probably just would not just let me win. You know what I mean? So
Kylie,
And
how are
I
you?
wouldn't let you in either. You would beat me because I am just not that good at chess. So.
more to come, guys. More to come. Developments on chess.
Kylie, how are you with poker?
I'm good at poker.
Okay, so
Mhm.
you could beat Josh in chess.
Yeah.
Chess is the similar thing to chess, or between those two things is that if you know your opponent well enough, you can play them instead of the game.
Yeah, and you watched me play poker on Red Dead the other day, and I lost like $300.
Yes.
Well, she finally got you to stop playing that game where you put your hand on the table and then stab the knife in
Mumbly
between your
peg?
fingers back.
I-
Is that what it's called?
I have
Yeah,
not even
mumbly
tried that
peg.
yet because I will
Is-
sit there for hours. That's
is
my
that what
favorite
it's
thing to play on
called,
that
Ricky?
game. And
Yeah.
I haven't even booted it up yet because I will be trapped there forever.
Anywho,
That's-
I
it's
love
fun.
that game.
Yeah. I was thinking in real life, like she came home and
Yeah,
she
that's
was
what-
like, "What are
yeah.
you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm learning, just like I learned poker from Red Dead Redemption." I know that's not what you said, but that's what I pictured.
I mean, I did that with pencils constantly in middle school.
Yes.
Oh yeah. See,
Yes.
oh gosh, yeah. No, that just brings me back. And I feel like at a young age, my brother got his hands on some knives, and
I
that
s-
was definitely something we did.
I still have a scar on my knuckle from that, actually.
Tangents,
from-
guys. Tangents.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
No, you're good. We're what we like to call equally collectively guilty here at SBI.
Totally.
So,
This is going much
Um,
better than the last show we did one episode with, though. That one.
you guys, I don't like to bring it up while it's happening, but you guys are killing it. So we have this old man Hex, right? He was a programmer for the Gate program. He built this vulnerability into it so he could have long-term sort of pseudo-environmentalism revenge on the company that made him build it. How do you guys end up feeling about Old Man Hex? Like, specifically, Josh and Kylie, do you do we forgive Old Man Hex here? Because we sort of get the implication from this other bounty hunter that has tracked Jet. I think his name was Jonathan. We sort of get the implication that maybe his whole life was ruined by this guy. Like maybe there was some money tied up in something, or maybe when he went through the gate, he lost his life savings. And we don't know. Maybe that guy has a family and he's the only livelihood. Like, how did you guys end up feeling about Old Man Hex at the end of the episode where you're like, okay, he deserves to go out easy. He, this, that, the other thing, or was he kind of like more villainy than tomfoolery and we just couldn't tell because he was so old?
So first thought is I'm going to tell you that I thought about this real hard and I did not come up with an answer. To get on a real level, I do have somebody in my family that's kind of struggling with like the whole dementia thing. And so it kind of, just at the time kind of hit home a little bit. And so I was sitting there thinking like, I really don't know the answer to that because, and I just want to say this right now just because it's so relevant. It was possibly one of my quotes. But they said, there's no one left but an old man who loves to play games. Mm-hmm. So basically, like, what they're saying is, like, yeah, he could have been this, like, incredible monster. But right now, his brain is so, like, gone that this person is not the same person that did this to you kind of thing. Right. Yeah. So that's a tough one. That's a hard. That's a gray area kind of thing. I feel.
I think those are my thoughts too. I think he was a villain 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I think he was a complete villain 50 years ago.
Bad guy.
But then over time, he lost his mind and ended up, like they said, he didn't even remember doing that. He didn't even remember setting a 50-year-long con. He was just there to play chess, basically, and find a formidable opponent.
And on the other side here, does that excuse things? Sure, right. Like, I don't know.
Not necessarily.
The answer is what I'm, it just, that's a hard one. Great.
Well,
I think in a way he's living with it. Like him losing his mind is his punishment for everything that he did.
Perhaps.
And the fact that he only plays games with people is like his own personal prison. He did all these different
Waiting
things.
for a good opponent.
And and so then once he hits his dementia, his Alzheimer's, whatever it was, like, that was he latched on to trying to find the worthy opponent, and that was his own prison until he finally died at 98 years old.
People don't know much about brain diseases either, and they say it can be kind of like your own personal prison. So for a million reasons, I love that you asked that question, Jesse, because it's a huge one.
If I could throw out just a little bit more to, what would punishing him gain society? You're not you're not taking anybody dangerous off the streets. You're not trying to rehab this guy because he doesn't have the proper faculties. So in my thoughts, you can't gain anything by punishing him and putting him in jail or whatever else. Did he do something terrible? Yes. Should he pay for it? Probably. But can you gain anything as a society by punishing this man? And I would say no.
I disagree.
And considering he already is living his punishment, you're just...
Well, and to offer the opposite viewpoint, Ricky, to maintain a functioning society, everybody has to be held to the same standards.
That's a good point.
For there to be some sort of semi-arbitrary limit where we go, yeah, he was a bad guy, but it was a long time ago. I mean, that's pretty pertinent to stuff that's happening right now in real life. I mean,
good point.
I'm not going to name
true.
names specifically because I don't feel like it even deserves to be brought up, but the conversation deserves to be had, because if we just repeatedly are showing like, okay, look, yes, he was a terrible person. He was a monster. He built this thing into the gate. It bankrupted all these people. It ruined their livelihoods. Maybe that ended some families. We don't know. That could have huge ramifications in a world this size. So to just go, but he also had a rough go of it, is like, yeah, but that's really excusing what he's done by saying, we understand that you might feel bad now if you had the capacity to feel bad, so we're going to call that good enough. And even if that's not what you're saying, even if it's a practicality thing where you're like taking this guy off the street isn't gonna, bring anybody's money back. He's not gonna become suddenly contributing to society or anything like that. On principle, I think we still have to maintain that you broke the law, you hurt people, be it financially or physically or mentally or emotionally, whatever it was, and that's against the law, and we have a procedure for that. So I feel like the feel-good ending to this is, okay, the nice old man finally got to play a game of chess and go out easy, but it was, and I wanted to feel that. I really did, because I don't like to think too much when I'm watching Cowboy Bebop and Firefly, you guys. I really don't. But I feel like this is one of the headiest moments the show has had so far. And it kind of hit me because I was like, man, usually this is just 100% fun all the way through. And I'm still having fun talking about it with you guys in particular, of course. But it is not the typical subject matter in the show, so I'm glad to get everybody's perspective on that. And I don't want any of you guys to feel like I think you're right or wrong. I'm just glad that we got several different sides of that out.
Totally.
Oh, I'd like to say hello to Roy, the intrepid DM in the chat, joining us from Twitch. Hello, Roy. Thank you so much for joining us. That was like 15 minutes. Josh, Kylie, Ricky D, if you guys would like to talk for a sec.
I just think that I think you're right in the aspect that, yes, you still have to hold people accountable, but I think in this kind of future with how big it is, like you were describing, I think Ricky's point is a little more on the nose as far as like in a universal or in a galactic kind of aspect where
It's
they're like,
certainly
we
more
have so many other
practical.
things to worry about right now that this
Yeah.
old senile man is not really worth our trouble right now.
I
Right.
feel like
Well-
I'm equally right in the middle. Like I agree with Jesse and
Yeah,
Ricky
that's kinda where I'm at.
equally, and I cannot make a decision.
Like I think you're
So I
both
think that's-
right, and I think
Yeah.
it's both, like it makes sense both ways. But
Totally.
I
I mean,
that's
in
the
our
beauty of it.
society, we would want him to be punished. In a society 1,000 years from now, it could be completely different.
Right. And I think that's the beauty specifically of that moment, right? Is because we four didn't sit down to watch this space cowboy anime to ponder that kind of a question, right?
Right.
But they got it in there in such a nicely stylized, just like enjoyable to watch way that I don't feel like I've been after school specialed or anything. I
Right.
just feel like I watched a piece of really good adult high quality entertainment. And I'm going to call back to a direct quote from my friend Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. When we asked him about watching anime, he said, I like to consider myself a person who values quality above all else. So if the quality is there, Ricky D is going to be happy. Now, to that point, really quickly, Kylie, I don't know how I missed this. I must have been reading the chat or something, but last week, you said definitively that you believe Avatar: The Last Airbender to be better animated than Cowboy Bebop, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I can't do that because I haven't seen it, but I am going to watch. I was originally going to watch only the first episode until a friend told me that the first episode was a pilot and thus has some pilot looks to it. So I'm going to watch the first 2 episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then I will dispute or agree with your point on whether or not it is better animated than Cowboy Bebop.
Okay. So
Nope.
thinking back, no, I do remember stating that. I think more what I was trying to say though is that it's a more progressed kind of animation, like a newer
Computer generated animation.
Yeah. So I
Gotcha.
guess I wasn't trying to say that it was better. I think that it's more advanced, perhaps.
Good. You guys, I thought I was going to
animation-wise.
have to watch Avatar.
And
No, you
Avatar.
should.
Avatar
I'm
actually
kidding,
was.
I'm kidding. I'm going to.
Avatar was one of Dave Filoni's first projects, and
that?
they used shut up, but they used a lot of newer computer animated stuff for Avatar. It was
So-
it was like an innovative series, kind of like I can't even think of anything right now, but like they used some extra like experimental effects with
Oh.
Avatar.
So this
Here's
is a perfect segue into actually a note that I wrote down. So going back to the first episode, I did mention that this was Sunrise Animation, a very big name. They did, and I mentioned as well in the first episode that they also did the animation for Neon Genesis Evangelion. And I just remember thinking, as Spike is standing there in his suit with his red suit and like and even Faye, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like so reminiscent of Evangelion. Like,
So
um,
I 100% agree. I was like, is that Unit 2 right there?
right.
Quickly, Rosie in the chat asked, no, I don't know who answered you from the Twist My Arm podcast account, but they're wrong too.
Okay, that was me.
What I
It's
was
the
mentioning-
after-school cartoon special.
Yeah, so what I was mentioning, Susie, is we didn't feel like we had been after-school specialed, which means I didn't feel like the moral of the story was laid on super thick and gone, now that you know the right thing to do, next time somebody says, here, try this space drugs, you just say no. So, like an after-school special. And I really appreciate
Dang, Ricky.
that you're keeping us up on that, because I forget that the international listeners probably don't know what American after-school specials are, and now they do. Oh, I see what happens. I said specialed. She wrote special ed, and Rick.
And then I got confused.
Not your fault. Okay. This is the experience that is the sudden but inevitable Rebop live chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening to the podcast version, won't you join us? We love you. You'll have a blast with us.
It's too fun.
Roy in the chat also says the adult nuances make Avatar amazing. You guys, I'm not against it. I'm going to watch it again.
I'm the one that's
I'm
against
not.
Avatar.
Yes.
Push
yes,
that towards
yes,
me.
too.
You need to watch it, and you're gonna be like, wow, we are so getting Ricky to watch this kind of thing. I promise.
Love our fans, listeners, viewers, and our crew. You guys, I'm having the time of my life, just like I do every Friday. I don't have any other specific notes because I felt like I was like, after I wrote that note down, I was like, well, that's kind of a bummer. Okay, let's go be on this stream. Which, again, was a blast, and you can go check out at the California Browncoats YouTube channel, which we will link in the show notes. Josh, do you have any other notes from this episode you'd like to cover? And then after you, let's go Kylie, and then Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D.
I don't have any other notes. Kylie, how long is Avatar for Rosie?
It's 3 seasons long.
Okay.
How many episodes
I
per
don't have
season?
any other notes, though.
I can't. I don't remember the exact amount, but it is similar
Producer
in
Josh.
the fact that it's like a
Wasn't-
20-ish minutes episodes.
Wasn't Avatar on Nickelodeon?
Yes, sir. Actually,
That doesn't that like by definition mean it can't be that good?
Dude, you
I
shut
don't
your
know, dude.
mouth.
Okay, let's
Like
think about
Nickelodeon has a lot of nostalgia.
Banished.
Let's
I
save,
know, right? Ren and
Let's-
Stimpy.
let's save this meaty confrontation for an episode of Best Flicks with Ricky D. I just think it would be a really good bonus episode.
I can't even look at you right now.
I'm telling you, he's losing the Dr. Horrible sing-along blog watch-along pod listening audience because Callie D is a huge Avatar fan. Intrepid DM is a huge Avatar fan.
And I'm a huge Angry Beavers fan. You need to get the F out of here, Ricky.
It's got nostalgia, sure, but
I see.
Oh my God. Go watch it still.
just
I'm
go-
done.
Just go on Best Flicks with Ricky D and attack him relentlessly
I will.
for the good of all
So-
mankind.
Sunday.
That's
Okay.
mean.
Miss Kylie, did you have any other notes from this episode you'd like to cover?
So I don't know. I could totally be like wrong on this. But I'm pretty sure Jet doesn't smoke.
In this episode or ever?
Like in general, he does smoke in the episode clearly, twice. But
Right.
I feel like in general, he is always the one who's telling Spike not to smoke.
Well, he's
Am I wrong?
generally, I think, okay, to the point you're making, not an invalid point. I think
Okay.
what we are meant to see when it's Spike and Jet is that Spike cares this much more about maintaining appearances and keeping things easy and not upsetting people for no reason than Spike does. Jet cares this much less about that than Spike does. So he's like, hey, by the way, you're not supposed to smoke, and then and then Spike can go, oh, okay. But in this case, Spike wasn't there; it was just Jet. Callie in the chat says, "My husband is asleep next to me, and when Ricky said I'm against Avatar, which she quoted, he woke up and went boo and fell asleep again."
Boo. Boo,
Kelly.
Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Boo.
Callie cannot let Ricky rest in the chat. She's still talking about Avatar and why Ricky D needs to give it a chance, and I love it. This is a blast.
Well, she's right. It is wholesome, but
Yeah,
it is
you're not drawing
so
me.
well done. Well,
Yeah,
it's well
wholesome isn't
done,
the
and
selling
it's
point for
intelligent,
Ricky
and
D.
it's fun, and it's hilarious, and
Ricky
I'm
likes
advocating.
Ricky hates everything. So like, you know,
Everything that doesn't deserve to be loved.
Kylie,
which
do
in
you
his
have any
world is
other-
everything.
Anywho, yeah, no. The last thing was that I just noticed that he was smoking in this particular episode, and I was like, I don't think he smokes in general.
He does. We've seen him. So he's passed cigarettes that he was smoking to Spike. There was at least one other time I've seen him smoking by himself.
This is not the
Oh.
first time I've been a crazy person, so.
No, you're not crazy. It's just like we always say, like when you're watching a 26-minute show, one episode a week at a time, in between real life, it can be hard to hold on to the little details.
Sure.
Josh, can you highlight that second to last comment from Callie for the viewers at home?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Sometimes, like I said, Ricky D.
Oh,
From
you're
Did
good.
Ricky just take it
D.
away?
He did. That's okay, because I can take Ricky away and put this up there.
I still got power.
Losing control. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. Have you got any other episode-specific notes from this episode of Cowboy Bebop, Bohemian Rhapsody that you'd like to share before we move into our weekly segments?
I do not.
Wonderful.
Cool. Avatar is 61 episodes, just to clarify.
Thank you. So
Yes.
3 seasons at 20-something-ish per.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
60
Cool.
divided by 3 would be 20, so.
That's
Brilliant.
what I said.
Math. He said ish. It is definitive.
He said 61 episodes. Right?
Right. You're
See,
right.
now I have to banish
right,
you,
right.
which
So, thank you, Josh. I appreciate that Josh holds everyone to the same standard in society so that we can have functioning principles and laws. Thank you, Josh. That means the world to me. You know what else
so
means the world to
unbiased.
me, my friends, is the weekly segments that we get to do here at Sudden But Inevitable. I love the weekly segments that we get to do. So why don't we go ahead and do one of those? Ricky D, which one do you want to do first?
How about shot of the show?
Shot of the show, as you know, is where we share our favorite visual moments from this week's episode or episodes as they hit us just a little harder than every other moment. So, let's have Josh go first this week, and then we'll go Kylie, then we'll go Ricky D, and I will go last. Josh, please share with us your shot of the show.
All right, so mine comes from minute marker 2:23, right at the beginning. Again, I love Ed, and just this first scene looked like me and Trev this morning, my cat Trev. Like, I swear I saw myself in this so much, just like waking up and being so like maybe it's a little disoriented, maybe it's just a little bored, maybe it's, whatever, but then my cat was just sitting right next to me, and I don't know, it just makes me laugh in every scene that she's in. It's wonderful.
He also wears belly shirts to bed too.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Belly shirts and shorts.
The spandex shorts are really the thing that keep people from spending the night at Josh's house, if we're being honest. But
Yeah, the shiny purple, absolutely.
I actually okay, little bit of a tiny peek behind the curtain. So remember how I told you guys that Josh had done a ton of work on the store and how all of this is very new to us and we're very excited. That's all true. And to back it up, I was texting Josh last night. It was like 8:30 or 9. We had done a call and we are like, here's how the shirts work, this, that, and the other thing. I was like, I'm going to put the new shirt up tonight. Don't worry about it. So then I went to start, doing that. And then, of course, a million other things took precedence immediately. So I finally got the shirt uploaded and put in the store and everything ready to go at like 12:45 in the morning. And I texted, and I wake up at 6 for work, and I texted Josh at 12:45. I was like, everything is working, I think. And he texted me back and was like, yep, totally good. I'm just chilling with the cat. So he is not making that up. He sits fully upright alone in a room with his cat. Sometimes. He was probably playing video games, but
Usually I have a controller, yeah.
Well, and we're actually having to isolate his cat right now, and so yes, he's been sitting in the room alone with his cat, keeping her company. So
is it as punishment for a small defect that your cat built into your litter collecting system 50 years ago
No.
and suddenly sabotaged your other cats?
I wish that were the case, but it's more because,
my cat's being mean.
yeah, Kylie's cat has what we like to call litter box aggression.
Correct.
Oh,
So,
yeah, again
So
with the episode
anywho,
titles. Go ahead, Kylie.
That is why it is incredibly accurate that Josh looked like that today, because he has been keeping his cat company.
yes. That's where I'm going right after this show, is back into that room to hang out with Trev, so.
Very cool. Miss Kylie, please, do you have a selection this week for Shot of the Show?
So, I am here to disappoint you and say no, that I do not have a shot of the show, but it was because I did collect quite a few Spiegel Spiels.
And I was going to say, I don't have a Spiegel Spiel, so she can take my Spiegel Spiel for me.
We are such a good team.
Look at
Yeah.
that. It's kind of like it was meant to be. Ricky D, from Best Flicks with Ricky D. I know you picked a shot of the show.
I
because
did.
You crave high quality visual entertainment. Share with us your pick, my friend. Nice.
This is the chess player. What was his name?
Hex.
Hex. Yes, thank you. This is a picture of Hex. This is in the middle of the episode. It was at 11:40, and this is when he's starting to play against Ed, and he's realizing that he's got a worthy opponent. So I was kind of looking at this going, now this old man is he's coming back to life. He's finding what he's searching for. And I just thought it was kind of a cool shot. It's also extremely detailed.
Doesn't he just look like an old man Dr. Wiley?
Well,
Okay,
it
old man
detailed in the
Dr.
fact that
Wiley.
it
Go ahead,
has,
sorry, Kylie.
I'm sorry. He's got like liver
Yeah.
spots and stuff. Like super cool.
Yeah.
Old man Dr. Wiley. Definitely a little bit of Yoda vibes going on there with the shape of the.
Can I be
the
Dr.
facial hair.
Wiley? Can I give myself a new nickname?
No, you're Wiley
There's
Kylie,
Dr.
sorry.
Wiley Kylie. Come on.
He's definitely got some creepy sage, mostly dead, ultra ancient character vibes.
Yes.
Well,
can-
his
you can-
outfit. Mhm.
Yeah, you can feel the frailty.
Yeah.
Our good friend Callie D in the chat has taken the liberty of explaining to our other good friend Rosie in the chat the difference between Avatar: The Last Airbender and Avatar: The Dumb Tall Blue People. So thank you for clearing that up for her, Callie. I didn't want to have to be the one to do it.
Some
The
people like
Avatar: The Last
things-
Airbender movie is on Netflix. I believe it's a Netflix original.
Ricky, just real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and cut you off and explain to you that actually doesn't exist. If you go click on it, nothing happens because that movie isn't real. So,
I personally
will
don't
move
think it was as
into-
terrible.
we will move in. I was attempting to toe the line that I have been told is an important line to toe by the
That's
Avatar
real.
fandom.
Reeling.
Okay, so my selection this week for shot of the show. I don't. Do you guys? Am I predictable? Like, when you're watching through, are you going, "There's Jesse's shot"? Like, is that?
This was my original shot, and then I saw that you had picked it in the comments, and I left you an angry emoji reaction.
One of the emojis didn't translate, but the second emoji that came with it was the symbol for male. So I don't know what the.
Oh, okay. It was an angry guy doing this.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what? I think you put the male symbol in
Male
your
symbol.
Oh.
name in that particular chat room as a joke.
He was sending you hate mail, is what it was.
I'm totally. Oh, that's brilliant! How did I miss that, Ricky D? You little punster. So, anyways, my choice for shot of the show this week is these three long upside down shadows on the hole here. It takes place at 5 minutes and 34 seconds into the episode. I just you know what? You flip the camera upside down and you get some spatial geometry going. You play with the lighting. I'm a sucker for shots like this. It's very anime. It's very pulpy. It's very, if it were a movie, they might say it's that Dutch angle, right? This shot, look at it. It's gorgeous. The whole series is gorgeous, but the contrast here, there's almost no color in it. You definitely have that sense of anonymity in the faces of the 3 crew members. I mean, we know who they are, right? There are 3 crew members, but like from a distance, when they first land here, they're strangers. We can't see their faces. Their identities are obscured. We have to learn that. They have to walk into the light, and they haven't done that yet. And I deeply appreciate this shot, and I might save this one. Now, this segment this week is going to have to come with a small apology on my part. I didn't get our shots of the show from last week up on the Instagram at Sudden But Inevitable Podcast this week. That is because between editing, preparing for the SDCC at Home California Browncoats meeting room stream, and getting the regular Sudden But Inevitable live stream ready, and getting that very cool SBI Silhouette Spectrum t-shirt ready and put up in the store for you to purchase at your convenience, we ran low on time. So I'm going to get last week's shots of the show up this weekend, and then this week's shots of the show will be up in a normal amount of time this week, so my apologies. Thank you for putting up with me. Of course, my friends, that means that it is time for us to move into our second segment of the week, which, of course, is Spiegel Spiel. Spiegel Spiel, of course, is where we share our favorite quotes from this week's episode, even if they were not uttered by Mr. Spike Spiegel himself. So, let's go in reverse order this time, which means my friend Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D, you are up first.
Yeah, I got a little piece of dialogue from Ed. It's going to sound ridiculous because I'm going to try and do her voice, but I really like Ed character. I wanted to grab some of her dialogue. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ed's going to score or play ball.
That was awesome.
Loving the mixed metaphors of different sports.
Yep.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Ed is vaguely familiar enough with game theory and rule sets to go, I can do this. It's competitive. Yeah. I got to get that quarter thrower to score a net goal. So I
got
love it.
PTSD vibes from when the intrepid DM likes to always make fun of my liking for sports. He always throws something like, we were watching a basketball game when he was out here last weekend, and they scored a basket, and he's like, "Is that a touchdown? That's a touchdown, right?"
Nice.
I was like, "You jerk."
He's the kind of guy that makes sports ball tweets on the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
Totally.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I dig it.
Sports
I
fans.
love Roy, the Intrepid DM. If you haven't, go follow him on Twitter at the Intrepid DM.
Yes.
Actually, I think
And
it's
Twitch.
Intrepid DM. I don't think there's a V in Twitter. Roy, if you're in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's a V in the Twitter handle. But yes, go find him on Twitch because that's where all of his best content outside of the Marvel Canon Madness podcast comes from. So,
Correct.
excellent choice, Ricky D. And may I say, excellent impression.
Thank you.
I'm digging it.
I thought that was a great job as well.
Kylie,
yeah.
It sounds like, no, you're good. And
Next time
scene.
I'm
I
gonna
love
try
that.
Jet. I'm gonna do
was-
Jet's voice next episode.
Well, and I was gonna say, Kylie, it sounds like you have just a list to choose from. So should we let? Oh, Josh doesn't have one. So what's Josh's pick for Spiegel Spiel?
Okay, so yes, this could absolutely.
I found it. I got one. I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's
Well,
too
you go
late.
first,
Kylie,
Kylie.
go ahead. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
You don't get to go now. Okay, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
No, you're going first. I'm banished.
No, go.
So the one,
He's being a brat.
and
It's
it's just the one that I had noticed that I liked the most out of the show was from Faye, and she says, "Hey kids, if you're a fashion-conscious young hood, remember that cute girl won't even look your way unless you knock over an astral gate. Do it today."
fine. That was cute.
And we got some of Faye's signature posterior
Sarcasm?
camera
Oh.
placement.
Yes.
Oh,
call it
yeah.
that.
Posterior. That's a good way to put it.
Yes.
Reverse angle.
Yes.
Boobs.
Yeah.
But
Okay, there we go. He got that. Go ahead, Kylie. Excellent pick.
So I did write down a few, and that's why I didn't have a problem sharing a few earlier. I really loved the piece to the galaxy in my bank account. That was super cute. And then, of course, about, what we were talking about, there's no one left but an old man who loves to play games. Definitely a profound one. But this one's kind of a two-parter. So it's definitely kind of cool when Spike basically just on a general level says, whatever happens, happens, right? Pretty profound. I mean, definitely pretty cool. But what I thought was super cool was that Jet right before that, he says, this could be a trap, a continuation of the game. And I'm like, oh my gosh, pew, bigger metaphor all around. You know what I mean? Like, that could be a metaphor for life or the situation right now. And he's just like, hey, whatever happens, happens. So I thought that was a good one.
So that's actually the quote that I picked as well. And the reason that I picked it was just because, to me, that's Spike going, yeah, I know. I move forward, dude.
I'm excited.
Like, I run towards the exciting thing. We already know, because we've already established that Faye and Spike do not particularly like to chase hackers. They're too easy, and they're not a good bounty. And then that is actually proven in this episode because they catch, 12 of them and get no money. So it's, they set that up, a few episodes back when they met Ed, and then we see it actually play out here. And to me, this is just part of that ultimate laissez-faire Spike lexicon, right? Just your call. Whatever happens, happens. You got to be like water. Got to be smooth. It's just like, man, why is everything you say perfect? Because he spent the time, right? He spent the time crafting the character that he is and the bounty hunter that he wants to be. And excellent choice. And I think that might be the first time you've ever taken a pick out from under me. Did you have a couple more you'd like to share?
You know what? No, that was about it.
Wonderful. Well, that means that the last thing that's a lie. The second to last thing that we have to do this week is to give this episode our ratings. So let's just pick up right there. Kylie, what is your rating for the episode this week?
I want to say 9.5. This is my favorite episode. It always kind of has been. Was very excited to kind of watch it, and then wasn't disappointed with the awesome content. So I think just overall vibe, the music was great. Like, seriously, all the points, everything around is just, it was solid. I don't want to give it a perfect 10 because, that's a pretty high standard, but 9.5.
Excellent. I like it. My friend Josh, host of the Twist My Arm podcast, what have you got this week?
I'm going to go with an 8. Nah, I'm going to go with a 9. A 9. I couldn't figure out if I want to do 8.5 or 9. But yeah, I would say a 9 on this episode. It was it actually had a resolution to it at the end. At least we got an answer.
Just like last week.
But at least we got an answer for like a conclusion of this episode. But yeah, I would say 9. Yep.
I'm digging it. Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. How many numbers out of 10 do you give this episode?
I'm going to go with 8.5. This was an excellent episode. No reason to bring it under 8, in my opinion. I loved all the Ed in it. This has probably been our Ed heaviest episode since he showed up. My apologies. Probably been the Ed heaviest episode since she's shown up. And I just had a really good time with that. I like the chess theme. I like all the exploring. It was an excellent episode. 8.5.
Fully agree that it was excellent. Did we just get a... Oh, okay.
We're back.
So I feel like there's a chance that we only watch good TV shows together, you guys. I'm going to give this episode a 9 as well. It is one of my favorites. I think a big part of it for me is going in, seeing that title card that says Bohemian Rhapsody, and then they do that visually, right? So like if you go look up like the definitions of Bohemian and Rhapsody, you will see that those two things are what this episode is. It's just like this weird cultural mishmash of all different kinds of things with no definitive, easily identifiable structure, but it's all part of one thing, and when it's put together, it somehow works in a way that kind of shouldn't, but just does. It's like the song Bohemian Rhapsody. It's an incredibly self-referential thing on so many levels, but yeah, I have to go with a 9 as well. So that puts us at
9.
a 9 out of 10 even for this episode of Cowboy Bebop. That almost never happens. In your face, cheap seat reviews. Take your decimals. Now,
In your
the
face.
the last thing that we generally like to do in a given week is say thank you to the people that have been supporting us and listening to us and helping us grow and expand our reach and things like that on social media and wherever you may find us. So let's have Ricky D go first, and then let's have Miss Kylie go, and then I'm gonna have Josh go after that, because I feel like between Josh and I, this may last 5 or 6 minutes. So Ricky D, you go first.
Yeah, I do have one. It sounds like I have been assigned a rival on Twitter.
Yes.
So thank you, Jesse, for finding a rival for me. That would be at the Daniac. That's like maniac with a D, the Daniac. And you're going down, bud. I'm coming to get you.
Oh.
This is awesome.
If you did not see the tweet, seriously, go follow Ricky D at BestFlix Ricky D on Twitter. Find the tweet that I tagged him in. It starts with something like, I was thinking about how my friend Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D doesn't have a nemesis. Would anybody like to be his nemesis?
It was mostly just a bunch of jerks that weren't on the radar.
There was a lot of, we had some applicants, right? We had some applicants, but there was this one candidate that just blew everyone else out of the list.
Awesome.
Definitely go
awesome.
check that out on Twitter. You can find that at BestFlix Ricky D or at Sudden Butt. Miss Kylie, I know that last week I skipped past you and I immediately felt bad, especially listening back through the edit, because I was like, I should never make the assumption, so I apologize. Do you have any shout-outs that you would like to give this week for big shouts?
This is a week that you could have made the assumption.
Ah.
No, it's not that I don't have people to shout out. I just have a very strong feeling that the people that I'm thinking of, you and or Josh, have a nice, good recap about all of our feelings. So I'm going to let you guys just take that part away.
Cool. I have a few. So I put some feelers out there about a week ago about how I'm getting ready to start the next season of Twist My Arm. And I got a lot of good feedback and a lot of love from people. And I have my whole season basically booked within a day. So, it's kind of a shout out, kind of not. It's just more of like, hey, this is what we're doing for the next month. So starting in August, I got the Colorado paintball team Cobra Kai coming on. I got the Playlist Wars podcast, the FJ podcast. I have the Made You a Mixtape podcast, the podcast that wouldn't die. And then I have a local Colorado artist, ironically named Pixie, that's going to be on as well. Different Pixie, yes. But Pixie is another Pixie from Next on Stage 1, at Next on Stage 1, is another shout out. She gave me a pod lift this last week on Twitter, which I always appreciate those. And if you haven't listened to Next on Stage 1 yet, you should, because that show is hilariously awesome, and very informative too. It's not only is it funny, but it's informative of a lot of different things. So my last shout out is definitely for Linnell, for inviting us to the Brown Coats meeting room panel today for the SDCC. I can't thank her enough. You can go follow her at California Browncoats on Twitter, I believe is what it is.
So it's at CA Browncoats.
There it is.
So
Yep.
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 It means California, but it is at CA Browncoats.
Yep. She was awesome. Again, like I said, I can't thank her enough. Great interviewer. And everyone else that was in that chat was really friendly. The whole Browncoat Society has welcomed us with open arms, and we can't thank you guys enough. It's been such a fun ride. So, yeah, that's all. That's what I got for my shout outs.
Very cool. I'm going to echo Josh and say, please, please, please go follow at CA Browncoats on Twitter. Their charitable organization is doing excellent work. Our friend Rosie in the live chat is helping with that. She helped connect them with the charity Kids Need to Read, and that is one of their main charities they're supporting right now. So anything you buy on the California Browncoats shop this month, 100% of the proceeds go to Kids Need to Read. I believe it's Kids Need to Read. It's possibly that and Equality Now, which is the other. No. They're doing an Alzheimer's one. I'm sorry. All of these show notes will be in the links. They're doing an Alzheimer's one. The rest of the Can't Stop the Signal Browncoat organizations generally raise money for Equality Now is the charity that they normally do. So, but yeah, we just want to say thank you again. That was a wonderful opportunity. So my shout out this week not only goes to Rosie in the chat for all of the wonderful love that you've shown us over the course of this whole year, even since we started doing this, and just you're the best, and we couldn't do this show the way that it gets done without you. So thank you from the bottom of all of our hearts, Rosie. Thank you. Beyond that, I do want to say thank you again to Josh, because getting the store all set up was, again, no small feat. It's a lot of very ridiculously detailed, intricate stuff. Josh took care of all of that so that all we have to do is go put cool shirts in it for you to buy, which you can do at twistmyarmpodcast.com. Click on the menu, go down to TMA Store. That will show you all the products, and I know that you are all so supportive. And even if you never buy a shirt from that, I just want to say thank you for even helping us get to the point where we feel like it makes sense to offer shirts. And like I said, to have the opportunity to make some money that we can put back into the show, better equipment, better connection, all that kind of stuff. It just, if you had told me personally at the start of the year that this is how it would be in July, I wouldn't have believed you. I just wouldn't have believed you. I would have said that would be really cool, but that sounds like a pipe dream. So I just want to shout out Josh in particular for doing that, and of course the rest of the crew, Kylie and Ricky. I can't do this show without you. Josh and I can't make the shows that we make without the crews that we have. So thank you guys for joining us. Now, of course, we are going to be taking a little bit of a break. Don't worry, it's not long. It's not like last time we were gone for like 20 days, which was not that long anyway. We're just going to take a week off, which will equate to 2 weeks because it's Friday to Friday, right? So
it's mainly because Jesse doesn't want us to sing happy birthday to him during the live show next week. So make sure everyone send him a happy birthday next Friday.
Somebody has a birthday.
I have no problem with that. It's just that I feel like it only would be right to spend that day with my actual physical blood relatives. And they feel that way too. So they told me, hey, you have plans that day.
Most importantly, they feel that way.
Exactly. So there will be no show next Friday evening, but the following Friday evening, we will be back full force to say welcome back to the Sudden But Inevitable Rebop. Thank you, Rosie, in the chat for the early happy birthday. I deeply appreciate it.
Hey, and you never know. Maybe Ricky and I can do our chess streaming game next Friday.
And again, and if it's late enough,
and Kylie too.
And if
I'm
it's
pretty
late
sure
enough,
it was
you guys,
my idea.
if it's late enough, I'd love to commentate.
I don't
We, because she did say happy birthday in the chat. I gotta say, you guys know what I want for my birthday. I want one of every color of the Sudden But Inevitable Silhouette Spectrum T-shirt. So go to twistmyarmpodcast.com. You guys know how it is. So I don't think that I actually have any other notes or plugs or I have thank yous or love to share. Specifically at this moment, Ricky D, do you have anything else this week?
Just that the Daniac knows that I'm coming for him.
Oh, he knows.
Okay.
Just to reiterate, yeah.
Josh and Kylie, have you got anything else that you'd like to share with us this week?
No, sir.
I'm good.
It's fun as always.
Yeah.
I have had an absolute blast with you guys. Let's go, Ricky, Kylie, Josh. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining us live, as you do every week. I can't tell you how much it means to us. We made it under 2 hours, you guys. We made it under an hour and 45 minutes. I knew we could do it. I knew we had it in us. For the sudden but inevitable Rebop, I have been your host, Jesse.
This is Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D.
It's been Kylie.
And this is Josh.
See you, Space Cow folks.